Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Have you been thinking about quitting alcohol, getting it out of your life once and for all? I get it. It's not the easiest thing to do, though, right? I know. My name is Eric, and I consumed alcohol for over 30 years. 30 years, and it was a long time, but I finally got around to getting rid of it from my life. About 4 years ago, I was successful in finally removing it, and the improvements it made in my life were so drastic, so key, so important. I wanted to share that with you by making a video, a quick little one that details my success, my thoughts, my ideas, and hopefully that can help you in your journey along the way. So stick around, let's jump right into it. So, what is it? What is it about alcohol? How is it all around us? Why is it so present like it is every day? It's just everywhere you go, right? If you walk to the grocery store, there's usually some big display of alcohol, big display of beer, whatever it is, depending on whatever the seasonal celebration is, right? If it's the Super Bowl in January, right? First thing you see is a pyramid of beer, or, they'll even shape it to your like favorite team's helmet, right? It's there, right? And it gets you all excited, flags and all this fanfare, and they make it seem like, oh, if you're not having this, you're missing out, right? Fourth of July, whatever, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Cinco de Mayo, you name it, St. Patrick's Day. There's just always something there. These companies are going to make money, they're going to profit off of your health, right? But what is it? I mean, you go to a restaurant, and the first thing you do before you can even settle down, right? Here comes the waiter, here comes the waitress, and they're pouring you water, and like, hey, would you guys like a drink? It's like, hey, I just got here, pump the brakes, right? What's this thing? I came here for a meal, and they're already trying to push alcohol on me. So there's like all kinds of pressure all the time to have it, right? If you go to a social event, whether it's for work, an office function, or a birthday party, any kind of event like that, the first thing is alcohol, right? And someone runs up and says, hey, the bar is over here, or what are you drinking tonight? Or here's a beer, here's a glass of wine, or you have somebody walking around with a tray of them, huh? Right? God forbid you ask for something else like an apple juice or or just water, right? They look at you like, freak, what are you doing here? Get out of here. So it's part of that pressure that you experience early on, and it kind of lasts through your life. So you almost have to stand really strong and be able to say no if it's something that you don't want in your life, right? But yeah, so it's all around us. It's part of our culture. It's part of our societal norms. It takes root in our lives. And before we know it, no wonder it's a habit that's hard to break when every time we step outside of our door or even sit down at home and watch TV, there's advertisements, commercials, whatever it is, vacation. The first thing you think of is, oh, I'm going to sit. How many times have we said, I'm going to sit on beachside with a little drink with an umbrella inside of it, right? Or by the pool, or happy hour, 2 for 1, whatever it is. It's just always on us. So it's no wonder it's hard to stop, and it's no wonder it's easy to start, right? But the thing about alcohol, it's all those things, right? They make you feel like it's a good time. If you're not having this, you're really missing out, right? I mean, that's how it is in our society, around the world, global, right? So again, it's not your fault and it's not their fault, meaning, these companies that push it down, or the restaurants that push it down, or, the event functions that have it. They just want you to have a good time. And in some cases of these businesses, they want to make a profit off of you, right? But it's our responsibility on what we allow into our life and how we go about doing that. And if it's time to make a change, it's time to make a change. It creeps into all areas of our lives, though, right? It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It shows up and it's just, hey, I'm just a sheep right here hanging out with you guys, and then surprise, years down the line, it's not a sheep anymore, right? That wolf comes out and it starts rearing its fangs and showing you what it actually is. So the thing about alcohol is, it gets into all areas of our lives, and it starts to chip away and erode at it, in a harmful way. It starts off slowly. Like I said, when you're younger, you almost have that pass, that green light, because everyone's doing it, right? You turn 21, and that's what everyone looks for, right? Oh, I can't wait till I turn 21 so I can have a drink, so I can drink legally. Now, when I look back at that, I was like, what a dumb goal that is. What a dumb aspiration that is. But we're kind of force fed that, aren't we? We're like, oh, that's a goal. First, get your license, and the next thing, drink, or also vote, right? But the next thing is drinking, right? And then I don't know what else after that. Graduate college and have a kid, mortgage, and blah, 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 you know, um, that whole path. So we all have different stories, right? How we started drinking, that first drink we have, and you probably remember it. I remember mine. And I was 13 years old. 13, right? Just a brand new teenager, right? What I know about drinking, it's not like I had this craving for it. And I don't know if anybody ever really does, right? It's just either peer pressure or some kind of environment that allows you, the ability to have it. And that's kind of what happened to me. I had a little bit of both actually. I was 13 years old, but I wasn't knocking them back at that point. It was pretty innocent. And, my story was simply my mom was having a birthday party. I think she was like 43 years old. My parents were newly divorced, so she was trying to, like, regain her place, in society with this new identity. And so she decided to throw this big old hoopla down at her new place. And so she invited friends and family, and there were all kinds of people there. Too many people packed in her little place, right? I remember, and it was a great party. It was fun, from what I recall, right? And so the adults were in the kitchen and the living room, and there was even some dancing going on, and they were, hey, 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 and drinking. And there was always the bartender. In this case, it was my cousin, and my cousin was, on the blender, and they were having margaritas and all that. And they had an ice chest, and it was full of beer, right? Ice cold beer, all kinds of, those cheaper ones, but they were good. I guess everybody was going through them. And lurking in the shadows were those teenagers, which included my older sister and some other of her friends and other cousins and just other friends that we had. And they were in there and they were lurking in the shadows. And when nobody was watching, they're about 17, 18, 20, right? And there were some 21-year-olds there, of course, but nobody was checking IDs, right? Not at these parties. And there they were, and then you heard that little can, psh, a little pop, and they were having some, and they felt like they were grown ups. I remember that there was that aura about them, like, look at us, we're having some beer, and nobody was policing them. And I remember them teasing me, like, hey, hey, Eric, don't you want one of these? And, I didn't, right? I didn't. But what I wanted was acceptance. I remember that. I kind of wanted acceptance from them because I was now a teenager, a little too old to play with the kids, but too young to hang out with them. I was just like in this purgatory area, right? And so I kind of wanted their approval, and I kind of want to start stepping away from the youthful individuals at the party, right? My cousins and siblings, right? Just so anyway, there they were, and they were having alcohol, and they were kind of teasing me, like, "You want one? Nope. You want one? Nope." And so then I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have one anyway when no one's watching." And there I was, and soon enough, I found myself migrating slowly over to that cooler and lifted it up. Nobody's watching, right? And snatched one. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I started, like, I popped it open and I decided I'm going to take a swig. And I didn't particularly like it. It wasn't like, oh, wow, this is so refreshing and I see why everyone likes it. But I felt like a grown up. I felt like a grown up. So, in a sense, there was peer pressure there, right? Like I wanted to be kind of like them, and they were kind of offering it to me. So there I was hiding out in the bathroom, and I had one. And then I finished it, of course, because I couldn't just walk out, sucking on this beer, because then probably would have gotten in trouble by somebody, some older individual. So then I had a buzz going, I remember, like, and I migrated back to where the teenagers were. There was the older teenagers, and I felt like I could hang out with them. And so then I whispered to one of them that I had one, and they couldn't believe it. And I said, "Yeah." And since I semi got a little approval, soon enough, maybe 45 minutes later or so, I found myself going back to have another one. Nobody was watching again. By this time, everybody was, in a different state at the party, so nobody was paying attention, right? And I then had another one. I think it was just only half of that one, if I recall, but it was enough to, like, make me feel different, if you know what I mean. And then I fell asleep early. And that was my first drink. And after that, I think I wasn't shy to take another one when it was offered to me when I was about 15 and 16. And somewhere around 17, I started making my own decisions on like when to have it. I remember my dad had some liqueurs in the cabinet, and I started with those because they're sweet, right? Like there was a mint one and a peach one, and I poured myself a little and just knocked it back. And I remember thinking, oh, this feels good. And because it felt good and put me in that different state, come to think about it now, when I look in hindsight, I was bored. I was probably a little lonely at that time and just going through those teenager things that we do. And that made me kind of run away from those feelings, to be honest. And that's why I did it. Of course, I didn't know that then. I just thought it feels good and that's it, right? And usually that's what it starts. We don't have the tools, we don't have the capability to know how to deal with other things, but we know how to reach for that drink and have it. It put its roots down early in me, and I thought it was okay. I just thought it was cool because I had started earlier than other people. But hindsight wasn't so cool. As you move through the years, you start realizing the effects it has on your health and your wellness. Your sleep is affected. You start gaining weight, and there's no nutrition in alcohol, right? There's no nutrition in beer. It's just empty calories, right? And it's also the foods that go along with it, right? Hamburger with a beer, hot dog with a beer, chips, all these other things that are saturated in fats. And so you got empty calories go along with things that aren't nutritious for you. And then therefore you gain weight. Again, if you've gained some extra weight, this isn't fat shaming. If I say that, believe me, I know I was about 45 pounds heavier than I am today. I'm so happy that the byproduct of reducing alcohol or getting rid of it from my life was that I dropped 45 pounds, and it starts right away too. Like suddenly your pants are looser and your shirts start to feel looser and your, face starts to slim out and just all kinds of things. Your sleep improves. Before that, you don't even realize what it's done to you. You might blame it on, that you're eating too much or this or that, but look for the silent culprit. It's right there in your fridge. It's right there at the bar. Your emotional wellness, your mental clarity, right? Because the alcohol is a depressant, and when you have a lot of it, it's no wonder you're just not feeling so good about things. You're feeling down about things. Now there are other, things that may contribute to that, but when you have alcohol, it's a depressant and it may magnify some of these other things that are going on in your life. At first it makes you feel good, and then you start to bottom out the other way. You start feeling bad, especially the next day. You haven't had a good night of sleep. So, mental clarity improves also because your mental clarity, you get, numbed out a little, everything's a little hazy. You know that feeling if you had some drinks the next day or that evening, you're just not feeling good. And you might sleep all night, but it's because it's alcohol induced. It's not because your body was repairing itself. So your emotional wellness, your mental clarity super improves when you do that, right? Your relationships, all your social engagements, that improves. People don't realize that when you drink alcohol, like, your relationships become affected. You might be sad and then project that onto them. You might be angry, fearful, and then you project it onto other people. And a lot of it's just fueled by that alcohol that's bringing you down and putting you in this state. When you release that, space opens up to feel the opposite: happy, healthy, just joyful, and and then you start projecting that out onto other people, and therefore you're able to repair some of these relationships or just finally be able to engage with individuals a proper way, the way that you're meant to, and the way they probably expect you and have been wanting you to. And what made me make the change, made me finally take the leap, finally make the big change that I had been thinking about doing for some time, had been kind of brewing inside of me. Thoughts were creeping in and out of my mind, like maybe I should slow it down, maybe I should cut it out, maybe I should make a change, but never really made that change. I woke up one day, and somewhere through the earlier part of my day, I started getting some sharp pains in my side, near my liver. It was my liver. um, I just didn't know it then, but I had a good idea of what it was. But I was in denial, so I thought, uh-oh, this is kind of concerning because it just intermittently or randomly would just I'd get this sharp needle-like pain in my liver. So if this is happening to you, don't ignore that, okay? That's your body telling you time to go get checked out, right? Don't run away from it. Don't run away from it. Get to the doctor and get a scan. And in my case, I was in denial for maybe a couple of weeks. It's kind of privately just like dealing with it. Like, what is this? But I knew that maybe it had something to do with alcohol because I was aware that my liver was there. And just to make certain, I pulled it up on some, like probably on the internet, and I thought, yep, that's where it is, all right. Pains persisted, they kept on hanging around, and they almost started getting worse, or at least I was feeling like they were getting worse and more often. To make a long story short, I had an event occur overnight, and thankfully my lovely girlfriend was present, and she demanded that we go to the hospital. So if you're out there, thank you for that, baby. And we went to the hospital, and they scanned me, and I was like really nervous because quite honestly it was kind of a crazy event where even my ears started ringing, and I saw everything in yellow. Nothing like this ever happened to me in my life, not before then and not since. So this was, I'll never forget it. I had a ringing in my ears, everything was yellow, and as my girlfriend was talking to me, everything was muffled. Everything was muffled. I couldn't hear, and I maybe it was a panic attack. I don't know because these sharp pains kept coming on, and this time they were just like more and more. I think it was like every 2 minutes or so. So I thought, oh my God, something's about to rupture. And I got nervous, so I had to tell her something's going on. And she said, let's go to the hospital. Let's go to the ER. And I never go to the hospital, and I never go to the doctors. Now I do more. But back then, I wasn't doing so much. And I don't recommend that, guys. But, get yourself to a doctor. And so I went to the doctor, and they started scanning me and doing everything they do, blood work and everything. And then they confirmed the next day that I had a non-alcoholic fatty liver. So they were saying that had nothing to do with alcohol. It was more to do with the fat deposits in my liver, maybe dietary. But alcohol does that too. So I had to go read up on it a lot by myself. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not gonna rest on their words saying that it isn't, because I've been drinking for over 30 years. So you know what? I'm just going to make the decision right now, make the choice to uh, live a better life, and to listen to my body that's telling me, this is a sign, it's a wake up call. So I'm so thankful that I did, because from that point forward, I stopped drinking just like that. I just flipped that switch and I said, it's over. And, I started pouring everything out the next day, and I made all my changes that I needed to, because I had a black and white decision to make in front of me. It was live a longer, healthy life with your loved ones, or continue down this path and start pushing up daisies. Get ready to push up daisies. And I didn't want to do that. And I don't think you want to either. So there you go. That's my story, and it was really, really life changing. And I'm so happy that it happened, actually. But sometimes that's what we need in our lives to make these changes. Sometimes we need that pain to occur and make itself present, make itself known. And when it becomes present and we're faced with it, I mean, that's usually when we make change. I'm not saying you have to wait for that. You don't have to wait for that rock bottom, whatever it is for you, but if and when that comes, make that shift and choose the right path, right? And this is the right path. Get away from it. If not, you're going to take a dirt nap. And that's just the truth. And one hard truth to admit is that drinking alcohol is an addictive behavior. And, it's okay. It's just there are many addictive behaviors, whether it's drinking coffee or even going to the gym, even healthy habits. But regardless, it's an addictive behavior. And with addictive behaviors, there's like psychology and like resistance. What's it doing to us that makes us want to resist it and make it so difficult to change? Comfort and familiarity. That's one. Comfort and familiarity in that, you are used to doing something. In this case, with alcohol, you know that when you go and have alcohol, even if you know it's bad for you, there's comfort in it. Your mind wants to protect you from dangers and it wants to bring you to this place of safety. It's called homeostasis, like you're right in the center, away from any harm, right? We move towards pleasure and away from harm, and that's what it is. And when you have a habit, whether it's a good one or a bad one, but if it's something you enjoy, you tend to reinforce that habit, right? And it just becomes ingrained with you because there's comfort in it. So that's like reason number one. At least we can say that there's comfort and familiarity in drinking, especially if you've established it as a habit and it's been there for a while. And along that line is your brain has a reward system, right? You all know it. You've heard the word, the dopamine effect, right? That's a chemical that's released in your brain, and it's a pleasure chemical. It feels good, right? So whatever it is that feels good, that's that dopamine being released to make you feel good. And when you drink, it gives you that short-term pleasure release, right? You go, oh, that, it's good. You get the little buzz. We've all been there. You go, this feels good. So why wouldn't you want to have another one and then have it again, right? It just reinforces the behavior because it feels good. Another additional fact that goes along with the psychology of addictive behaviors is cognitive dissonance. If you've never heard of that, it's just when you have like two beliefs in your mind. You have two beliefs that are like in opposition of each other. Like, I like drinking alcohol, but I know it's bad for me. What do I do, right? And so what your brain does in order to kind of ease this discomfort, right? Because you get stressed out. You're like, oh, what do I do? And you almost feel guilty and you feel bad. Like, I want this, but I know this. So, and you can't have both, right? So what happens is that your mind tries to ease this and bring them together by, smoothing it out and saying, well, it's okay. It offers you reasoning to make it okay. Like, oh, just one more drink or just this one time because it's so and so's birthday party. I can handle it. One more drink is okay. I can handle it. It's not a problem in my life. I don't have a problem. I'll start tomorrow, right? All these things that help bring these two conflicting beliefs together and smooth that out in your mind so that you can move forward with your addictive behavior. Does that make sense? Another thing is your identity too. Like if you've been, drinking for a while and you've thought, well, I'm a drinker. You can actually say that. You hear people say that all the time with all kinds of things, right? I'm a coffee drinker. You see aprons at the store, right? It's wine o'clock somewhere, whatever that is, right? 1, 2, 3 tequila floor. All these funny little t-shirts, things that make people say like it's okay, right? You've got hats that have brand names on it, whatever. Identity, we choose these things. We go, I'm a social drinker, I'm a regular drinker, I drink with my barbecues outside. Whatever it is, you attach your identity to alcohol. Mom's night, we're going to go drink. Dad's weekend, we're going to go fish, right? Golfing, you're having drinks after you're done with your holes, right? So it just becomes part of your identity. And since you make it okay by choosing this identity and the world, society's okay with it, you go, that feels good then. It's part of my identity. It's okay. And, I'm going to move forward with this because this is who I am. But so if you think about that, all you have to do is the opposite. You could choose a different identity, one that doesn't include alcohol. And another thing is just like fear of failure. Fear of failure is really important, right? Why you can't stop drinking. Why, you might say, I want to stop. And that little voice inside your head that says, I've been wanting to quit, but I'm not sure. There's this fear of failure that a lot of people have. It's like a glass ceiling, if you will, right? You're fine down here, but if you try to break through, you might fail. And so then you've got yourself a limiting belief there. You've got yourself this idea that you can't do it. Maybe somewhere inside, you're really believing that you can't do it, but you want to go ahead and try. And again, try is not doing and not committing to the decision. You go, okay, I'm going to try, and boom, you fail. And then you reinforce that original belief that, you know what, I couldn't do it. So back to where I was. So fear of failure is a big thing that holds people back from really achieving the goal. But you have to switch that identity. You have to move into that person and believe that you can do it. So you got to get rid of that limiting belief. Another thing is that it helps with your emotional traumas, right? Whatever they are, whatever it is, that's your private thing. But you sit down with yourself and might want to journal that too. Find out like when you started drinking and what that did for you, why it started helping you feel good, because it usually helps you reduce anxieties, right? Anxieties from what? Anxieties from what, right? And anxiety is fear. So fear of what, right? In social situations, drinking can be like that social lubricant, right? When what that's really saying is, I'm going to have a drink so I can make it through this conversation without, whatever the fear is, maybe exposing too much of yourself, maybe saying the wrong thing, maybe not seeming as smart as we'd like to seem in certain situations. Whatever it is, there's usually a fear, right? Just, you don't want them to see maybe certain sides of you, because then that would expose something you're afraid they might not like you as much. And that's kind of a true fear that a lot of people have. Everyone wants to be accepted, right? It's part of a survival instinct. You get to be part of the tribe, part of the group, and in there there's safety. And when you don't have that, you're rejected and shunned to the side. Like ancient times, they'd chuck you out there if you didn't belong to the tribe, and you'd just be left out on your own to die and perish, right? So we still have that inside of us, believe it or not. It's crazy, but it's true. So fears are on the other side of anxiety oftentimes, and alcohol helps to mask this or numb the stress that comes from that fear, right? And traumas, whatever they are, again, maybe some pain that you haven't resolved inside. This is where therapists and counseling can help, greatly, or friends, somebody that you can really confide in, so, true individual. Because when you have these traumas, unresolved traumas, things you still haven't worked on from, it could be 10, 20, 30 years, or, even last week or so, we run to substances that are addictive in nature, you know, and we find ourselves repeating this pattern, like going back to whatever that substance is, just to make us feel good, to mask the pain, right? Again, the dopamine's released and we feel good, and that feels better than dealing with the emotion that pain is, whatever it is. It could be, something bad that happened to you, or something that somebody said to you, or, a relationship, past relationship, whether you're with your family members or with a significant other or with your child, your boss, whatever it is. There are all kinds of reasons, but usually when we go back to, that substance, in this case, alcohol, and we go to it, it's numbing that pain. But really, the real reason that we're doing it is to, hide ourselves from those pains of the past or fears that we have in social situations. So that's for you to sit with, yourself and figure out. I've done a lot of this myself, so I'm preaching what I've practiced. I've sat with myself quite a bit, and it's a sobering experience, to use that term, but it's a truthful one. And that's where the basis of a lot of your growth comes from. You sit with yourself, you find out what's going on, why you've picked up some of these habits that are causing harm in your life. And nothing's better than to identify them and start to chip away at them, chisel away, and then realize that you can become something greater without these things that are hurting you and bringing you down. In this case, it's alcohol. So I know you can do it. You can. I did it, so you can too. And something else that I feel is really important to share with you all is something I came across. I didn't really come across this during my journey, but since then I've read some things and I came across this. It's a framework, like something that helps with changing old habits, especially difficult ones. And it's called RIDE. That's the acronym, RIDE. And the first letter R stands for recognizing the pattern, recognizing what it is that you do when you go for a drink. Like, what are the triggers. What are the thoughts? What are the things that, you know, make you go for that bottle in the refrigerator, or head to the grocery store to buy some alcohol, or run down to the bar? What is it that it could be? It could be different for all of us, but there are thoughts that we have, and there are, situations, maybe like, oh, I'm stressed out today, so then I'm going to go have a drink. Or just plain simple, finally off of work, long day, long week, the reasons we give ourselves, and say, oh, I'm going for a drink, I deserve it, right? These are patterns that we have. And if you find yourself having these patterns, you're more likely to repeat them over and over and over. And that's what a habit is. So recognizing the pattern, super important. Again, you could write that down or just sit with yourself, think about it, and then you'll see that you have a pattern. I did. If I have to think back in retrospect, I'll know that, oh, I had a pattern, and it was those like, oh, a long week, oh, a tough day, oh, things have been stressful, right? Or, oh, that person stressed me out today, or whatever it is. You have so much on your mind, so much going on, and you want to give yourself a little reward. And that little reward comes in the form of alcohol or any other substance sometimes. The I stands for interrupt that pattern. You got to interrupt it. If you once you know what the pattern is, what the loop is, what the thoughts are, then you can say to yourself, oh shoot, here it comes, it's coming, and burp, pump the brakes on that real quick and interrupt the pattern. So, oh, you find yourself, let's say, wanting to go out to the grocery store to go buy some alcohol, or call up a friend and say, hey, you want to go for a drink? That's when you can identify and say, no, not today. Today, I'm going to do something else. Like, well, you know what? Time for a shower. Make it a cold one too, if you want. That'll shock your system. Or text a friend that is there for you in a different way, that's not going to invite you out for a drink and, fan the flames in a sense. Um, Go for a walk and say, you know what, it's a nice afternoon outside. Instead of going for that drink after work, or after this stressful conversation with somebody, whatever situation it is, say, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to interrupt my old pattern, and I'm going to go out for a walk instead, and with some water. An hour later or so, when you come back home, you'll see that your whole state has changed. You'll feel different, and you won't want to go for that beverage. The D stands for designing a new system, right? Because let's be honest, the old one wasn't working. The old one is what got you here, right? So designing a new system is really important. What does that mean? All right, your old system was a series of thoughts, that pattern we talked about, which was, well, I'm going to come home and I'm going to have a beer, and I'm going to sit on the sofa and scroll my phone, or I'm going to go to the local bar with Johnny, and we're going to sit there watching the game on TV, and we're going to eat some fried foods, and we're going to talk to the bartender, and we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and come home and be lazy and not work on my goals, right? So the opposite of that, just change it up, make it fresh, right? Make it fresh. Instead, you can design a new system. Say, no, after work, I'm going to, frame it out already so that it's already in place. Now, after work, I'm going to, go to the gym. I've got a new trainer and they're going to help me get going, right? And after that, I'm going to go home and shower up and groom myself. And then I'm going to have a nice healthy dinner because I already have the healthy food in my refrigerator. And then after that, I'm going to maybe read a book or something. You understand, you can do whatever you like, but whatever it is, make it a positive habit. And when you design these new systems, you already know it's already set in stone for you. The moment you get off work, when you're already going to recognize a pattern and interrupt it. This is a way of interrupting it too. You've got a new system in place, so it's already going to be a default for you, and you're going to go right for it. And then the next thing is just to embody the person that you want to be. Embody the person that you want to be in advance, right? So start behaving like that person. That's really key in changing all habits and becoming that new version of yourself. Kind of like fake it till you make it, in a sense. You got to start becoming that person right away with all your actions. So you embody that person. You start hanging around with some different people. Maybe you join a support group, or have some new friends, or again, hang out with some friends that don't have you, drinking alcohol. You may, have hobbies. You might just start eating healthily, you might start exercising, all those things contribute to that new individual. And it's more like in line with the individual that doesn't have the habits that usually go along with drinking alcohol and just, kind of being boozy, you know what I mean? So embodying that person is really key. So yeah, just to highlight and bullet point these things, you got to ask yourself the question, am I trying just to cut back or am I trying to quit completely? And you have to know your reasons why too. Why are you doing this? Is it health and wellness you want, mental clarity, better relationships, more finances, etc.? You have to know your reasons why. And it could be all of those things, but that's really important. Prime your environment. You have to remove all the temptations around. That could be clearing your refrigerator out, making sure there's no alcohol at home, not going to your favorite grocery store that has the best deals in town, not going to the local bar, not hanging out with certain friends that, always want to have, an alcoholic beverage, all of these things. Whatever it is that creates these temptations, just remove them from your life. Just make sure they're gone. And you have to find alternatives to these things too. It could be a new hobby. It could be instead of drinking and watching football, maybe you go for a walk or a run. Maybe you pick up a new sport. Maybe you pick up a book to read. Whatever it is, you'll find your way, but you have to remove these temptations from your life completely. Sit down with yourself, find out what they are, write them down. And if you know something to be true, if there's individuals or situations or places that make you stressed out, that make you have one more reason to go and pick up that bottle to have a drink, avoid it at all costs. It's so important. And along that road, what's really important is to, well, track your progress. You can use apps or you just go old school. Get yourself a paper or go down to the local stationery store, buy yourself a journal and write down your reasons, write down what you're doing, write down your progress, write down temptations that you faced, ways you coped with them, ways that you got over the hurdle, whatever it is. But writing it down makes it come to life. Writing it down makes it real. So when you do this, put it down on an app, you can review it, and then you can see your progress too, which is awesome. Once you see your progress, you can celebrate your wins. You can celebrate your little wins. All the little wins are super important along this road. Instead of looking at that, the end goal. The end goal is going to happen, but it's going to be a series of many little wins along the way. Each time you successfully say no, whether it be at a restaurant or when somebody calls you and invites you out, when you say no, that's a win, and celebrate that. And for some reason, I don't want to encourage you to have an out or a green light or a free pass, but if for some reason you fall down, that's not the end of the road. You don't wrap it up and say, that's it, I failed, so time to quit and just go back to my old ways. No, because along the way, there's going to be stumbling. There can be. There can also be complete success along the way. But if there's little bumps on the road, that's okay too. That's part of the process. And then you write that down too. And what's important is how you pick yourself up and move forward, because that makes you stronger. You pick yourself up and you move on stronger, and you're going to get there. And then when you get there, you're going to realize, wow, I got through all that. And you're going to feel amazing for doing that. So you can do it. If you find yourself wanting to reduce alcohol or cut it out of your life completely, be careful, be mindful of how much you consume, because it is a substance. You may need to take a step down approach and seek a doctor for recommendations on this, because there could be adverse effects that go along with this, right? So depending on your situation, contact your doctor and make the decision that's best for you. So, hey guys, that's all I've got to say on the subject. Thanks for joining me today. Again, if you have any comments, you want to leave some questions, anything you want to say, send me a message or leave it in the comments. I'm super happy to read them and respond, get back to you if I have the answers. If you want some more details on anything I said, just again, leave that in your detail. I'm happy to answer them and get back to you on all of that. So good luck on your journey. I know you can do it. It's not as difficult as you might be thinking it is, but there is some work involved, but you owe it to yourself. And believe me, you want to do it deep inside. You want to do it and you can do it. And so then you're going to do it. All right. Good luck. Much love to you. My name is Eric, and goodbye.